Hi, my name is Glenn Dow. I'm the product manager for the osteoporosis franchise here in Canada. I'd like to take this opportunity and welcome you to the launch of Fosavance 5600. In today's presentation, I'll review with you our key successes in 2008 by looking at our sales data as well as our prescription data. From there, I'll outline what our strategic objectives are for the launch of Fosavance 5600, as well as outline what our key messages are. As well, I'll outline our drivers and barriers for success in 2009 in order to maximize this great opportunity for Fosavance. But first, to the weather. As you can see from this beautiful map of Canada, which represents the playground for the osteoporosis franchise in Canada, we have sunny skies in both Ontario and Quebec. In Ontario, we have Fosavance 2800 open listed and had tremendous success in 2008 with 40% of plan and 80% growth. Moving over to Quebec, just as much success, sunny skies with Fosamax having sales of 10% to plan and a growth of minus 20%, but that of course is due to the pelting of the generic alendronate into that market. Despite the generic storm cloud that has entered into our region, for Ontario and Quebec, we managed to blow by our objective of $39 million by maintaining our high pressure and sunny skies. Now over to Glenn in the field for more information on this data. Well, here we are in the marketplace, where it really hasn't been too sunny for us lately. In fact, it's been raining generics. Let's take a look at the data. In both Ontario and Quebec, Actonel has a market share of approximately 45%. Generic alendronate has a market share of 35%. In Ontario, Fosavance has a share of 16%, and in Quebec, Fosamax has a share of approximately 15%. And our key goal is to go after the generic alendronate business first and get back the business. Once we've accomplished that, we'll set our sights on Actonel and take their share as well. Wait a minute, I think it stopped raining. The launch of Fosavance 5600 is certainly going to make things a lot brighter and sunnier in our world. Let's go back to Glenn at the office. And now I'd like to talk to you about the key messages that need to be delivered to our physicians in each and every call. First off, we have to focus in on our fracture protection. It's the crucial part of why a physician chooses a particular agent to treat osteoporosis. Second, we must talk about the importance of vitamin D as being an integral part of managing patients with osteoporosis. We know that vitamin D is not readily available from dietary sources. In addition, we know that vitamin D inadequacy is very prevalent. Fosavance 5600 significantly improves vitamin D status for patients taking Fosavance. Lastly, as for the switch business, we need our physicians to identify those patients on generic alendronate and upgrade them to Fosavance 5600. So remember folks, Fosavance 5600 provides a most effective hip and vertebral fracture reduction enhanced by the recommended dose of vitamin D in a weekly tablet. Now to the Showbiz Report. Hey everybody, here we are at the premiere of Fosavance 5600. This is the release that everybody's been waiting for. So why are all these people here? Well, I'll tell you. They're here to hear what the strategic objectives are for Fosavance 5600. Our main objective in Ontario and Quebec is to identify and upgrade generic alendronate patients to Fosavance 5600. We'll only defend against Actonel if an objection is raised. And lastly, in Quebec, we'll need to preserve our Fosamax once-weekly business because of our unique pricing strategy. So why are we focusing on the generic alendronate business? Well, take a look behind me. Almost 70% of all alendronate prescriptions are going to the generic. This represents a huge box office for Fosavance 5600, and we're going to take it back. Back to you, Glenn. Watch out that you don't get stuck at that gala too late tonight, Glenn. You know how those celebs can be. Let's go over to Patricia at the business desk. Patricia, over to you.
Merci, Glenn. Et maintenant, les nouvelles. Là, maintenant, je peux vous voir. Donc, parlons donc des nouvelles stratégiques et de Fosavance 5600. Quel beau produit. Dans une franchise où nous avons été leaders pendant des années au pays chez Merck. Et en fait, avec Fosavance 5600, nous allons pouvoir regagner le leadership dans l'ostéoporose au pays. Un très beau produit qui va nous permettre de directement aller chercher des parts de marché d'alendronate générique, en particulier au Québec et en Ontario, et où nous allons, grâce à ça, pouvoir réinstaurer notre position de leader sur le marché. Très important pour nous, parce que dans un premier temps, au niveau court terme, cela va vraiment contribuer beaucoup à générer la croissance pour Merck Frost au niveau des revenus. Mais aussi pour le futur, nous allons pouvoir préparer une très belle position pour nos futurs produits qui s'en viennent en ostéoporose dans les années à venir. Donc, on prépare le marché maintenant, on le fait grandir le mieux possible et on va s'assurer d'avoir une position de leader qui va nous servir pour les lancements des nouveaux produits. Je ne peux pas attendre pour profiter du soleil, et profiter du futur qui s'en vient très lumineux pour nous, et je mets déjà mes lunettes de soleil avec le lancement de Fosavance 5600.
Patricia, always great hearing from you. Now, I know many of you are planning to go home now, so let's go to the eye in the sky with Glenn and get the latest traffic report. Thanks, Glenn. Here we are up in the eye of the sky, high above the traffic, and I can tell you that things look very good from here. A couple of drivers and barriers, though, to be aware of for the successful launch of Fosavance. In terms of clear driving, as you know, there's a high level of awareness of the importance of vitamin D in managing patients with osteoporosis. So this will make the adoption of Fosavance 5600 even better. As well, Fosavance 5600 is now aligned with the Canadian guidelines for vitamin D. As you know, the guidelines recommend 800 international units per day, and the Fosavance 5600 addresses that need. Thirdly, physicians are extremely comfortable with using alendronate. They've prescribed it for years, and they know what to expect in terms of the anti-fracture efficacy. Lastly, and most importantly, we expect Fosavance 5600 to have open listing in both Ontario and Quebec. For these reasons, it's going to be a smooth ride home. One barrier though, we have to make sure that physicians write 5600 on their prescription. We need to differentiate it from Fosavance 2800 so there's no confusion at the pharmacy level and where a generic substitution could occur. But for these reasons, it looks like a very smooth ride home. Back to you, Glenn. Glenn, that's great that you got your eyes open for us up in the sky. Now over to the sports desk. Thanks, Glenn. Here I am at the Hockey Hall of Fame in Toronto, Ontario, the center of the universe. Just got some late breaking news that, in fact, the Toronto Maple Leafs are projected to win the Stanley Cup this year. I know, not really. But I guess the breaking news is that Fosavance 5600 is really our franchise player for Merck Frost. It addresses patients' needs for vitamin D and, more importantly, prevents fractures. For the company, we expect Fosavance 5600 to be in the Merck Frost Hall of Fame. So let's make it happen, let's take it to the competition, and let's do it now. Over to you, Pierre.
Bonjour Glenn, je suis au stade où Merck Frost s'apprête à lancer le Fosavance 5600. J'ai peine à vous entendre, la foule est en liesse derrière moi. Alors on sait que Merck Frost a fait de nombreux changements à son alignement l'an dernier. Merck Frost a lancé un nouveau modèle d'affaires, un nouveau plan de match en quelque sorte, et Fosavance sera le premier produit lancé par Merck Frost avec ce nouveau modèle d'affaires. So what's going to be key for Merck Frost representative this year? Where really they're going to have to occupy the playing field. They're going to have to step up their offense. They're going to have to use those 3 products in the bag, and they're really going to have to follow the game plan. If they do that, I'm very confident they're going to have a banner year. Back to you, Glenn.
Pierre, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Pierre, you mentioned that the reps are going to have multiple products in the bag. Could you please elaborate?
Yeah, well, what's really key with multiple products is pre-call planning. I can't emphasize it enough. They're going to have to make sure they follow the right sequence of products based on the target that they have in front of them. And finally, they're really going to have to deliver on the messages. As you can hear behind me, Glenn, the crowd is really loud. The action is about to start, so I'm going to have to go. Back to you.
Thanks, Pierre. Well, folks, that's about all we have time for now. But before we go, we have one last word from Banff.
Merci beaucoup, Glenn. Alors Pierre, nous voici depuis quelques jours à Banff pour préparer le lancement de Fosavance 5600. We've been here in Banff for a few days preparing for the launch of Fosavance 5600. I think it's going to be a fantastic event, don't you?
Absolutely.
Are you ready for it?
I am ready.
Okay, so then, attachons nos tuques.
Hold on to your hats.